He felt that there was a flagrant lack of appreciation on the part of Bill Belichick. And listen, it came down to this. If Bill Belichick had gotten on the phone with Tom Brady a year ago, we love you, we never want to lose you, we don't give a damn what it takes, Tom Brady would still be a New England Patriot. Bill Belichick was not willing to do that. He said, damn that. And that is why Tom Brady not only is gone, but he's been gone since last year. It was a foregone conclusion. We all basically knew it. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. So clearly, Bill Belichick is the person to point the finger at more than anybody else. Because as Kraft said to me when he called last week, if Tom Brady had wanted to stay, we would have worked it out. There's only one reason he wanted to leave, and that is Bill Belichick.
That's ridiculous. You're wrong. You're flagrantly, blatantly wrong, Stephen A. Think about what you're saying.
You're uninformed.
If Tom Brady had wanted to stay, he would have stayed. If he would have stayed, right, under his conditions, but he doesn't make the conditions. He's not the GM and the coach. He's not the guy foremost responsible for the success. He's number two behind Belichick, the GM and the coach. Brady, it was in the article, Stephen A., the Wickersham article, how upset he was after the loss to the Eagles, where he threw for 1 billion yards. They never had to punt, right? But they still lost. Why? Because it was the worst defensive Super Bowl in the history of sport, in the history of Super Bowls. No one stopped anyone that game. The first team to make a good defensive play won. That was the Eagles. So the offense was unstoppable, and he had weapons. He had Gronkowski, who was targeted like 15 times, Amendola, Dion. He had weapons in that Super Bowl. What Belichick saw was that's not enough. There are finite resources in the NFL. We can't put it all on the offense. He reworked the team into a great defensive team. And by the way, won the Super Bowl the very next year on the defense and the running game. So you see that you're not going to be the dominant team on offense, defense, and special teams. You just don't have unlimited paycheck to do it or unlimited resources to do it. Usually the Patriots are better in 2 out of the 3, almost always in 2 out of the 3. And that's how they won the very following year. Now this year, the Patriots still won 12 games, but Brady has further slipped. So, well, he had no weapons. Yeah, he didn't have a top-notch outside threat or tight end. I agree, but it was good enough to win 12 games, largely behind the defense. And a good game manager who's big on third down, which you can win a Super Bowl with, as you saw the year before. Why did Tom Brady leave? Because under those circumstances, no, he's not going to have all the weapons, and then you got to take away from the defense, which, the defense slips. That's not the way Belichick thinks is the best way to win, given where Tom Brady is at his stage in his career. Still won 12 games. So what does Tom Brady want? He wants a contract that pays him as though he's still a player that he's no longer. I mean, we could debate whether or not he is, and it's because of the weapons, and I see no deterioration in this, but he was worse under pressure. It took longer for him to process information, it seemed, and that's year over year, 2 years now. So between all of us sitting at home thinking about it and Belichick, who seems to understand his personnel and how to put them in a position to win better than anyone, Belichick's view was, no, not more than a year deal, not under the circumstances that Brady wants. Given what's available now, it's pretty clear if Brady would have taken a deal Belichick gave him, he'd still be there. He chose to leave, so whose fault is that?
I'm going to say that there are 3 people involved in this, even though there are only 2 names. One of them is the quarterback. The other 2 are the coach and general manager, and they happen to be the same person. And I think it is Bill Belichick, the general manager, who, if we're going to assign blame to someone in a situation where sometimes a relationship just runs its course, and it was the most successful pairing in the history of American professional sports, so it's kind of hard to say this didn't turn out extraordinarily well for everybody. But if you just look at one thing, this past year, the New England Patriots took a receiver in the first round. His name is N'Keal Harry. Here are the names of people who were drafted after him: Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. Demonstrably better players. I think that if you look at the accumulation of talent in New England over the last several years, it has diminished, it has decreased, and you have to put the blame for that on Belichick. Now, they kept on winning, and part of that is the Patriot way, and part of it is the brilliance of the quarterback. And I will say this, the other thing, Max, that I think Belichick got wrong is, if we are to believe everything that we have been told and that has been reported, it is that Belichick was ready to move on from Brady several years ago and hand the reins to Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo. And all Brady did since then was take the team to 3 Super Bowls, win 2 of them, and be the MVP of the league at the age of 40. So I do not believe that Bill Belichick, the general manager, has done extremely well by the greatest coach of all time, who happens to be the same person.
Greeny, I can't prove a counterfactual. I can say that if you look at Garoppolo's win-loss record, especially when you look at the Niners, who couldn't win, he shows up, they can't lose, he gets hurt, they can't win, he comes back, they can't lose, and they wind up in the Super Bowl up 10 points in the fourth quarter. I can't prove a counterfactual, but I don't know that if Garoppolo stays in place, they have less success or more success. I suspect maybe a little less success, but now they're set up better going forward. In terms of Belichick, the GM, you're right about his drafts. He's not perfect, especially on offense in the last few drafts. But how can you really stay behind the brilliance of the quarterback? 2 years running, they were a dominant team mainly because of the defense. That's mainly what did it, and that's Belichick
listen.
redirecting resources to the defense.
Well, first of all, their defense wasn't that dominant in the AFC Championship game that you continuously and repeatedly remind us that Patrick Mahomes didn't get the ball last, and that's what saved the day, along with the offside penalty with D Ford and what have you. You repeatedly remind us of that. Where was the defense then? Where was the defense when Tom Brady threw for 500 yards, but they gave up 40 in the Super Bowl loss to the Philadelphia Eagles? That's number 2.
Yeah,
Number 3,
I said that's why they
according to
redid
the
it.
Business Insider, excuse me, we heard you, zip it. We heard you. This is number 3. Number 3, and more importantly, the Business Insider, if I remember correctly, last week reported that Tom Brady gave up in excess of $60 million over the course of his career to facilitate Bill Belichick making moves. How do we know? Again, this is a counterfactual, to use your word, but how do we know, Max Kellerman, that Bill Belichick, the great Bill Belichick, during all of those times, because there was a multitude of times he went to Tom Brady and asked him to make those sacrifices, that he didn't make promises on the back end that he ultimately didn't keep, which is a problem that Tom Brady had with him in the end. How do we know that? Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.